All right, so the question yesterday, a lot of it was, hey, well, how do through self-awareness, we're talking on this, we're going to be on this topic for a while. How do I become more self-aware? And then what do I do once I'm more self-aware? How do I address these issues? How do I deal with these issues? And so we're going to get into that today. And at first, it starts with self-discovery. Understanding why we do the things we do can be very helpful in learning to update our programs to something that is more effective for us. So we have the triad of meaning, or the three molders of meaning, and we're going to start there. These are the three things, right? We talk about this a lot. We'll be talking about, we have three decisions we get to make all of the time. What we focus on, what it means to us, and what we're going to do about it. The molders of meaning, where we derive our meaning, comes down to three things. Okay? Number one is our physiology. And you see this in people, how they show up. Right? Your physiology says a lot about yourself. How do you carry yourself? Your posture. If I'm hunched, if I'm looking down, that says something completely different about me than if I'm standing up straight, shoulders back, eyes ahead. Right? Your physiology has a massive impact on your body. So much so that you could be in a great mood, right, and just change your physiology to someone who is sad and depressed, and within a short amount of time, you'll begin to take on that feeling, or you become less confident. Your physiology is part of your the way your brain and mind and body connect and communicates experience and emotion. So we want to be really careful about our physiology, how we are carrying ourselves. This certainly matters in the business of sales and influence, but it matters, period. How do you carry yourself? What is your physiology? Okay? So number one, molder of meaning, our physiology, our posture, how we carry ourselves, our body language, how we're holding ourselves. Those are all things. You can go look at yourself in the mirror. This is a fun exercise. Go look at yourself in the mirror and then look into your eyes. How comfortable are you doing that? That should tell you a lot. And then look at your physiology. Hey, how do I hold myself? Fun fact, if you can hold a power pause or a power position, power pose for 2 minutes, you can increase, according to a Harvard study, you can increase your testosterone by 20%, men and women. And that's pretty significant. Testosterone, it has a lot to do with our energy. It has a lot to do with our confidence, our stamina, our libido, which is something we drive a lot of creative energy through. So learning how to manage, that is going to be really important. And so testosterone is something that you can quickly update just by changing and shifting your posture. So number one is physiology. Number two, no surprise here, what we choose to focus on. We are naturally attracted to and begin to take on the feelings of whatever it is that we are attracted to. And this is important to understand. I'll give you a real world example. Let's say you're hearing, let's say you're listening to the news right now, and the news is telling you 5 million people are going to die in the next 2 days because of the Rona, because of the coronavirus. Okay. Now you don't know whether that's actually true or not, but that's what the media or the news told you. So you begin to focus on that. You begin to think about it. Oh my God, 5 million people are going to die in the next 2 days because of the Rona. And you begin, the more you focus on it, the more you begin to believe it. The more you begin to believe it, the more you begin to what? Somebody hit me with it. What happens?
Accept it.
Attract it.
See it.
Feel it.
So it shows you.
Feel it. Right? And this is where we got to learn how to manage our emotions, because this is where we get stuck. We think, okay, I'm focusing on something. The more I focus on this, and let's end of the world scenario, right? This is usually Chicken Little style shit. The sky is falling. The more I begin to focus on this stuff, the more I begin to feel that outcome, right? And it begins to take over. And if you've ever coached somebody who lives in fear, or they're always afraid, or they're always seeing the negative, and then you pay attention to what they're fucking focusing on, it's pretty obvious. Like, shit, if I focused on that shit all the time, I would feel the same way, right? And now because they feel that way, and they're not super emotionally intelligent, they believe, well, if I feel that way, it must be true. it must be true. No, just because you feel a certain way does not make it true. I was talking about yesterday, emotions come and go in waves. They're about 90-second waves, bursts. They come and go. Moods can last a very long time. There's biochemical reasons for that in some cases, but more often than not, it's because of what the person is choosing to focus on. So you start paying attention. Funk, I'm in a funk here. I can't seem to get out of this. I'm in a mood, right? There's certain emotion that I can't seem to shake. Okay, well, first thing I'd be looking at is, well, what are my thought processes? What am I continually focusing on right now? And that's a dead giveaway. Your focus matters. So I want to pay attention to what am I focusing on right now, because it's a molder of meaning. It produces emotion. And if you don't get the connection, you'll think, because I feel this way, it must be true. Because I feel this way, it must be true. Your experience is real, right? Perfect example of this. You go, you watch a movie, or you read a good book. We'll stick with movie, right? And in that movie, you're laughing, you're crying, you're emotionally disturbed, you're sad, right? All of those experiences are absolutely real. Those emotional experiences real. They just happen to be based on fiction. That doesn't make the experience any less real. It just makes its validity not. Right? There's a lot of people that are doing this to themselves. The movie in their head is fucking painful. And they're telling themselves the story over and over and over again. And they're addicted to their stories. And they produce a biochemical response and a feeling that they're addicted to, and they get trapped. Focus matters. It's one of the molders of meaning. You want to take back your life, take back what you focus on. And it is a choice. Like I said, right now, there's a lot of people that are going to be out of work, and they're going to struggle, and they're going to blame the economy. They're going to blame this pandemic. They're going to blame their employer. They're going to blame their employees. They're going to blame everybody but themselves. Right? And they won't get it. And then there are other people who are focusing on, how do I take advantage of this moment? What are the blessings in disguise right now? What are the things I can be doing to make myself faster, stronger, better right now? Those guys are going to come out of this faster, stronger, better, and we're going to hear those stories. But I promise you, when you get through this, we're going to look back and you're going to hear both stories. You're going to go, Sabs told me this was going to happen. There's people going to look at this, they're going to say, this was the reason why I succeeded. The people are going to look at this, go, this is the reason why I failed. Focus matters. Molder meaning number 2, focus. Number 3, this is a dead giveaway for me. Yes, where focus goes, energy flows. Exactly. This one's a dead giveaway for me. I could talk to somebody for 5 minutes and figure this one out. What words do they choose to use to describe their world? Words matter. In fact, words matter massively. I'll get woo-woo here for a second for those who appreciate that. Every single word actually has an energetic resonance. I'll say that one more time. Every word has an energetic resonance, meaning it is energized around a particular frequency. Okay, well, how the fuck do I know this, or what the fuck is the implications of this? Okay, you could check these studies up. That's number 3, Dom. We're on to 3. Number 1 was physiology. Number 2 is focus. Number 3 is words or language. Stay with me. All right, so number 3, we're talking about language. So when we look at language, there's a study you can pull up. You can YouTube it right now. I don't want to do it because I don't have the right clip, but you can YouTube it at a different time. You'll see there's 2 different studies that figured out the same thing in different ways. One of them used water, and they actually turned the water into art in subways, I believe in New York. Might have been in London, but I'm pretty sure it was in New York. But they used music and words. Okay, so literally they played music over this water every single day, and they were able to take pictures on a molecular level of how the water shifted and changed. So when they played heavy metal, angry white man music, it turned into like these fucking gnarly spires that looked like gothic and spiky. They played classical music and country music. It looked like beautiful snowflakes. Literally the music that was being played, the energetic resonance of that music had an impact on water. Anybody know what percentage of your body is water?
70.
Yeah, it's 70 plus.
70.
So this matters. And so, and music has its own energetic resonance, okay? So same study, same idea, but they did it with rice in Japan. Stands to reason. 2 big bowls of rice, 1 in each room, and they spoke words over the rice. One group spoke very negative words over the rice. The other group spoke love over the rice. And in this study, the rice that was encouraged, as cheesy as this sound, that was spoken love over, it stayed white the entire 30 days. The rice that was like words were spoken over it of just negativity and hate, it literally turned black within a few days. I'm not making this shit up. This is crazy, right? This gets into some quantum physics shit, but like Google it for yourself. See these studies. Pretty interesting. And then the same thing was done with plants, right? Speaking words over plants. So words have an energetic resonance. And there's probably words, and we're going to get into this later, but there's probably words you inherited in your family. There are words that your family uses that hold another weight. There's an energetic resonance of the word, and then there is a family attachment or tie to that word. Now, some of you, when I'm saying this, you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? Others of you are like, oh, yeah, certain expressions that are very common and everybody uses, and there's an agreement, an energetic agreement with that word. Okay, so we want to be careful about the words we choose to use. Words have power, and a lot of people don't understand this. It's like a weapon. It's like a sword or a gun, and you don't know how to use it. And unfortunately, the person it's turned on is you, more often than not. But words have power, and we want to take back that power and use them for good. How you describe your world is your world. You don't actually have any other way to interface, which is pretty interesting. In order to drive meaning, you got to add words to it. Without words, there is no meaning, which is really quite fascinating, the power of language. The good news is this is our choice. We get to choose the words we use. And it's a discipline of learning how to do this. So if I'm in the business, if I'm thinking from a business mind, I want to talk for the job I want, not the one I have. Right? If I want to be a consultant, I want to talk like the consultants do. I want to understand how they look at the world, how they're explaining the business, how they're explaining the industry. But pay attention to words you're using. I can tell where somebody's at just by the words they choose to use. Okay, I'm going to pause there. Anybody have any questions for me?
Yeah, Seb, I had a question.
Hit me, Garfield. What is it?
All right, so you said that words have power. I 1000% agree. Do you think it's as literal as literally as using a word between like good and great, or like fantastic or absolutely? Like, you think it's like that to that like molecular level?
Do you feel different when you say I'm good versus when I say I'm great?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can literally feel it. That's why I always say I feel amazing or I'm amazing. There's certain phrases I use all of the time, and they're meant to create energetic connection.
Affirmations.
So it's what you say over and over and over again. And with words, it's not what you say once, it's what you repetitively say. Now here's the part. Here's the part to this. Success is an energetic frequency. Abundance is an energetic frequency. Money has an energetic frequency. If you get aligned with that, it comes to you. It's attracted to you. Birds of a feather flock together. Now, this may sound woo-woo, but it's not. I'm actually using physics. We know everything has an energetic resonance. Einstein said it. Like energy attracts like energy. That you are attracted to what you are. Go ahead, Garfield.
Yeah, so would you say, like, for example, if someone was trying to get out of debt, just the thought of them trying to get out of debt will actually keep them in debt, as opposed to already thinking in abundance of like they're out of debt?
Interesting. What word are you using?
Debt.
What's your focus on?
Debt.
You Google, I don't want to be poor. You're going to get much different articles than if you Google, I want to be wealthy. The object of your sentence matters. Saying I don't want to date an asshole is not the same thing as I want to date Prince Charming. Right? This matters. We talk about a reticular activation system, or RAS. It's a filter, and this is where our focus goes. This is the next step here. It's a filter that determines what we're paying attention to. And this is the work I told you yesterday. When we're born with a clean operating system that basically is a base operating system, but we don't even know how to walk when we're born. We don't know how to talk. Everything is learned. We just have a base operating system. Then we start adapting programs from our world and our experience. And they help us at certain seasons, and then we grow out of them, and sometimes we don't. You've ever met somebody who's in their 50s or 60s who behaves like they're a kid or like they're a juvenile? It's because there was a program that got stunted at that point in their life. They never grew out of it. They keep behaving like they're that age. There's something happened, a traumatic experience, so they got stuck somewhere. Okay, so as we grow, we have these programs that come up. Now, this is the work of the subconscious mind and the conscious mind. 90% of your mind is subconsciously in the background. And that's a good thing as far as we can tell. At any given moment, we're picking up 2 million bits of data. 2 million bits of data. Okay, and your subconscious mind is actually storing all of that data. But it's your conscious mind that decides what to pay attention to or what to focus on. And this matters. That's why I said on Monday, the entrepreneur is going to see the opportunity in every problem. Everyone else is seeing the problem and the opportunity. Right there, it's all there, right? Certainly there's a problem too, and there's an opportunity. But what you focus on is going to determine the direction you go. Well, that is the work of your reticular activation system, and that sits at the base of your brainstem and what's called your psychocybernetic network. I know that's a lot of words, but it chooses to filter what's most important to you. So going back to this molders of meaning, the triad of meaning, it determines what you're going to pay attention to. And this is really important to understand. And there's some elements to this going into how do we change what we're focusing on. There's some elements to this. So your RAS determines what you're consciously paying attention to, and what the other part goes into your subconscious, and your subconscious takes over. So I'll give you a couple of examples of how this works and then how we can apply it. And there's a point that it's good that a lot of this stuff goes subconscious. So the first probably week or two that you drove to the office after getting hired, you probably used Google Maps and you had to think about your turns. Right? And they were conscious. You're like, okay, I got to turn on this street. I got to turn, okay, I'm exiting off the 22 to Chapman. I'm taking a left on City. Okay, I got to park here. Okay. So there was a consciously, in the beginning, you were making those decisions. Somewhere along the way, though, your subconscious mind goes, yo, I got this. We've been doing this for a while now. I actually don't need you to even be involved. Let me just go ahead and take this off your plate. Subconscious mind grabs it, because I'll get you there. Now, how many people have driven to work and been in deep in discussion or fucking shaving or putting on makeup, and then bam, you just show up at the office and you're like, whoa, what happened? How did I just get here this quick? You don't even remember the turns, right? Unless you were late and you're stressed out the whole fucking time. That's a different scenario. But if you're doing things right, your subconscious mind took over and you totally forgot about it. Right? You went to work on whatever else you were doing. That's the work of the subconscious, and it's powerful. How it's not powerful, though, is, to give you the second example. Okay? So we changed, back in May, we changed out of our office space, which I had been at for like 8 years, 7 years, something changed, something like that. Sandra, keep me honest, but I think somewhere in there, 7, 8 years. Okay? And we moved, and actually we didn't even move that far. We moved the same exit, but you turn left instead of turning right, and you go the other direction. Okay. Well, I'm busy. I'm usually, when I'm in the car, I'm either listening to a podcast or doing a one-on-one, but I'm usually engaged in something other than driving. Okay. Subconscious mind's getting me to work. So the first couple of weeks, every time I'd get off the exit, my subconscious mind wants to take me right. And I would. The first couple of times I turned right, I'm like, whoop, nope, not going there. Whoop, got to flip that bitch around. Okay, well, what was happening? My subconscious mind's program was no longer serving me, but I was continuing to use it. And I had to rewrite that program in order for it to become useful again. And very often programs that helped us at one level are hurting us at another level. They're keeping us from the next level. And this is why learning how to rewrite programs, learning how to change your mind is incredibly important. Now, if it works as something as simple as driving to the office, what are the implications of that? Let's say you've had a poor mentality your entire life, but you decide I want to be wealthy. Right now you want to take the left off the exit to wealth, but your subconscious mind is constantly hooked into taking the right towards poverty in your decision making, in your thought process. Okay, so how do we do that? How do we change that? That's not a rhetorical question. It was embedded in my story. So how do we change that? Guys, it was embedded in the story I just told you. How did I change it?
You overwrote the program.
Now it takes me to the correct location.
You reprogrammed yourself.
Right, you just have to build a new habit because it's paradigm. So you just have to
Your pattern.
Build the habit of what your focus is on, and then your subconscious focus will eventually take over.
Great. So in the example of taking a left to the office now instead of taking a right, the first couple times I went right and was like, oh shit, U-turned and went back left, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But eventually over time, as a response to three things: repetition, right? Constantly doing it and turning left, new experiences in the new location, right? Like the experience of being in our new location, and then the emotional factor of being there eventually rewrote my subconscious mind. Now, that's a really basic example, but it applies many, many times over for any area of your life.
What was the third one, Sabs?
Experience and the emotion, the emotions tied to it. So the experience matters. There's a logical component to changing your subconscious, but the emotional component is what gives it fuel for lasting change. Right? Thought, the logical process of logically ascending to something is your conscious mind. When you embed that with an emotional connection, that's when you get significant drive to rewrite your subconscious. That is why so many people don't change, as Abraham pointed out yesterday, until staying the same is more painful than changing. The pain of staying the same creates enough emotional charge to change the behavior, to rewrite the code. Right now, we don't have, I was talking about yesterday, we don't have to learn that way. It doesn't all have to be pain. We can learn through enlightenment. We can learn through waking up. And that's my goal with our time right now, is to produce self-awareness so we can begin to gainfully choose to change without you having to use pain to do it. But it's repetition, right? Eventually I kept turning left, kept turning left, kept turning left. The repetition of that, the experience, the emotional connection to the new location, right? That created a rewiring in my brain where now I'm on my calls, I'm doing a podcast or whatever, and I get right to my parking spot. And I'm like, oh, fuck, there I am. And I think about it again. Same thing. This applies to everything. Your social circle, the people you date, how you see money, how you see yourself. And a lot of our belief systems were embedded when we were very, very young. But you find what you're looking for. So I want to go back to this reticular activation system again. I know for a lot of you, I've talked about this for many years, so this is probably a familiar topic for a good group of you. I want to go back to this again, though. You find what you are looking for, and you don't even realize it. If you don't understand the implications of this, this is very, very painful. And when you finally realize it, on the deepest level, when you understand the implication, it will radically change your life. You find what you are looking for. So another example, one I use all the time, but usually everyone can relate to it. You're about to buy your first car, or your mom or dad's about to buy your first car, depending on your situation, however it went down. You start doing a bunch of research. You find your car. Gio knows what I'm talking about. I don't know where Gio's at, but he knows what I'm talking about. He's a car guy. So you get excited about your car. You start researching it. You start looking at the different colors, the different specs, what rims you want on it, what exhaust you want on it. Start looking at all the different pieces that make this car your car, the one you want. Right? And so first it starts as a very logical side to it. You start looking at all the logical components, all the factual pieces to it. And that's one piece of it. And you're meditating on it. You're thinking, I'll tweak this, or I'll get this, or oh, I really like that. Okay, the logical component. Now, the other part of this is you start imagining yourself driving the car. You begin to imagine yourself, well, how will I feel driving the car? Right? You ever seen somebody, especially when they're young, when you get older, it kind of loses its luster. But very often, somebody's first car, their second car, especially the first brand new car, they just, for the first couple of weeks anyway, they have a swag, a confidence, and they want to drive everybody around, and they want to take everybody wherever they're going, right? And there's this, I got this feeling. Well, that feeling started before you got the car, because you were imagining yourself driving that car and having that experience. Okay, so what happens? Logically, clearly, I have a clear outcome. I know exactly what kind of car I want. I know exactly what I want on it to those specifics, okay? And now I know what it feels like. I've imagined myself driving this car, and I know how I'm gonna feel driving this car. The emotional connection is huge. So what happens? Okay, you get in the car, you get in your mom's minivan, you're sitting in the front seat now because you're about to get your own car, and you start driving down the road with your mom, and you look around, and what in the fuck? The car is everywhere. It's everywhere. You're like, whoa, whoa, this car got real popular real quick. Suddenly everybody wants this car, right? And if you don't get what's going on, that's exactly what you think. You think the car just magically got more popular and there's more of them on the road. No, what happened is your conscious mind wrote a program that said, hey, this means something to me. This means something to me. Your subconscious mind goes, no problem, boop, we'll grab the program. Now every time we see it, we'll point it out to you. So now you're seeing it more. Now, if you understand the implications of that, that's a fucking game changer. Let me give you some practical application. Have you ever gone out with somebody in our business that's really great at sales? You go out with them and you're thinking they're going to give you some magic pitch. They're going to give you some amazing response you've never heard, or you just think they hustle, they work harder than everyone else, which is probably true in many ways. Right, so you have all these ideas. Maybe they get the perfect store. They have the assistant manager territory. You have all these stories about why you think they're so good, why they're so consistent. Then you go out with them and you are utterly frustrated and annoyed by the fact that it really looks like they just get fucking lucky. Like people just walk up to them that want it, or that everyone they talk to just magically they were looking for it. And you're like, what in the hell? No, that can't be right. There's got to be something else. Like you're just getting lucky. Yeah, every fucking day they're getting lucky. No, they have filters that over time set them to find exactly what they were looking for in their environment. Over time, they begin to understand who their ideal customer is. They begin to understand the spectrum of people they can close, and they have filters that can immediately figure that out. So their law of averages is way better. Way, way, way better. They're not spending time with the wrong people. Okay, it's a filter. Same thing we do with relationships. Same things we do with business opportunities and investments. Never, ever get financial advice from a poor person unless it's what not to do. And here's the reason. It's simple. And people fuck this up all the time. They're looking at a business opportunity. They're looking at an investment. They're looking at starting their own business. And they go talk to their friends and family. Well, if your friends and family none of them are business owners, they're employees or unemployed, and they've never made more than $30,000 a year, they are not qualified to give you advice on these topics. Why? They don't have the mind to see it. Now, they may even, it's not even, they may actually give you good advice. They just don't know it's good advice. Even a broken clock's right twice a day. The reason why they don't know it's good advice is they don't have any experiential wisdom tied to it. Okay? Get advice from people who are where you want to be. This is huge. It's incredibly important because they're paying attention to different things. So some of you guys saw the YouTube video. We'll make it available to everyone at some point, but I sent it out to the owners, and some of you saw the YouTube video with Patrick and David that we did a couple days ago. We were all chatting roundtable, and if you listen, I was asking him lots of questions. I took over, and I say this all the time. I say this to my guys all the time. I'm like, hey, if I'm in a room with somebody that's more successful than I am, I don't have a problem cornering the market on questions. So I'm with Jamie, I'm with Joe, I'm with Luke. None of them are really jumping in with questions, so I just take off. I'm like, boom, let's go. Bam, 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 bam. And I don't mind looking dumb. I don't mind asking a shit ton of questions. I did. What was I looking for? I want to understand his perspective. I want to see how he sees the world right now. Dude's about to sell out of his business for a few $100 million, go into media, get into the influence space, right? That's exactly where I'm going, exactly what I want to do. Does he see it? How does he see it? Does he see me different than me? And it was reassuring in many ways because I realized we're very aligned. We see things very similar. But the point is I was paying attention to his perspective. My questions were tied to, what is your perspective right now? What are you looking at right now? What are you paying attention to? That is your RAS. Now, it's incredibly hard to do this and to rewrite these programs if everyone you surround yourself thinks just like you do. Because they'll keep resetting your program like crabs in a bucket. You're trying to see the world differently. You're trying to do things differently, but your social circle keeps resetting you back to what that collective thinks. It can be very stressful. It can be very hard to deal with. This is why the easiest way to do that is to change your social circle. And we don't always talk about that. I mean, one of the pains of success is very often it means your relationships and your social circles change because not everyone wants to grow. Not everyone wants to come up with you. Right? You'll go through phases. Right? If you start changing, and this phases of change here, this is we're taking a note on. Phases of change. When you start changing your social circle, the first thing they're going to tell you is you're dumb, or some version of that statement. You don't know what you're doing. You shouldn't do this. This isn't wise. There's too much risk. Stupid decision. Right now you start to gain a little success. You start grinding a little bit. And they're doing this because they see typically what they get triggered by is if you're emotionally connected to what you're doing and you're genuinely excited. Cracks me up. Right? You could be doing something that you're not excited about, that's just paying the bills. Nobody questions it. It's like, oh yeah, man, it's just a grind. You get into something you're excited about, you start changing, you start growing. Now you're getting challenged from that group of people. First phase, you're dumb, you're stupid. Second phase, you're crazy. You're crazy if you think this is going to work. Starting to build some momentum. The final phase, for the guys that didn't wake up, and I went through this myself, especially the final phases. The final phase is because they don't get it, their response is, oh, you just got lucky. Damn, I wish I could get lucky. I wish I was lucky like you. You're like, motherfucker, I'm not lucky. I worked my ass off. I made decisions day in and day out to get me to my goals. Poor people look at success like it's luck. Now, I've rarely met a billionaire, somebody who's very successful that doesn't admit that there is a component of success that's lucky, but luck shows up with preparation. Luck shows up with preparation. Are you ready for the opportunity? So we've been given an opportunity, right? We've been given a period of time to grow and develop ourselves, recalibrate our mind, recalibrate our thought processes so that when we come back out of this, we hit the ground running. What are you paying attention to? So Mulder is a meaning. One more time, words, what you're focusing on, physiology. Your RAS determines what you're paying attention to, and they're patterns of behavior. They are habits. They are habits. Do you have the habit? Did you grow up in a family where the habit was to see the negative first? To believe, were you told that if it's too good to be true, it must be? Were you told that you don't deserve good things? Were you told that you'll never be a success, that you're not smart enough to be a success? A lot of these patterns, and we're going to shift here into how to get rid of these things. A lot of these things we picked up early in our life. We picked up really as children. And when our 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old self heard these things from the people we trusted the most, we had no idea that they were full of shit. And we agreed with those statements. And then they shape our lives. And we're like, what the fuck? Why am I reliving childhood drama? Why do I keep reliving these sagas? Because your program, your belief system in that particular area is set to that time in your life, and it hasn't been updated. Now that's your work. Part of becoming an adult is upgrading your programs. Part of becoming an adult is becoming self-aware enough to know, hey, this is my responsibility. You don't get to blame your fucking parents. You don't get to blame the culture you grew up in. Right? You don't get to blame your situation. You are solely 100% responsible at this point in your life to make decisions for the life you want. Blame game's got to stop. And one of my favorite examples of this, and then we're going to get into 6 human needs psychology here. Can you list the phases of change again? Yes, phases of change. You're talking about the 3 phases you go through with friends. Yeah. So first phase is you're stupid, you're crazy, and then you're lucky. If they're not growing. Now there will be some people that come with you and they'll see it differently because they're growing with you. But the people who aren't growing will say you're stupid or some version of that. They may not be that blunt about it, but that's what they're thinking. You're wrong. You're crazy. You're lucky. And that was my personal experience. Although most people didn't call me stupid because I had a reputation for not being stupid and being very an independent thinker. So that's not usually where I got challenged. On the back end, though, there was a lot of, hey, what did you do? How did you get this? How do I live your life? Right, it was interesting in the beginning when I started the business. Back in my day, a lot of what we were doing was door-to-door shit. Right? It was AT&T. It was a transition campaign. I had friends like the year and a half before, I'd made almost $1 million. I had net worth almost $1 million. I made a crap ton of money, and I promptly lost it all in the last recession, which is why I'm much better prepared for this one. And I went through a very, very hard financial season. But I'm going and I'm building my business, going door to door for AT&T, and I had lots of people like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like, what are you doing? You're in the Inland Empire, and you're going door to door selling people fucking cable?" I'm like, no, I'm in a business management training program to run my own business, and I'm helping people transition off the copper lines on the fiber optic. Notice, focus, where were my words? What was I thinking about? Most people at that time wouldn't have done that business, which is why most people don't have the life I have, because I was able to see the opportunity and work through it. And hopefully you guys see it the same way. This isn't about selling a service in Walmart. Amazing partners, we love our clients, but that's not what any of this is about. And we won't always do that. There's going to be lots of new clients, new technologies. We're going to start our own companies. There's going to be a lot of play here. And I think this season is going to change a lot of how we do things, and we're going to become more omni-channel. I don't know if Abraham's on right now. So being able to see the opportunity is a very big part to this. And that's where a lot of people get stuck. And you got to make sure that you're hanging around people who can see the big picture, and you begin to formulate and own your own big picture. My goal is I'm going through this with you guys. I don't want you to believe anything I'm saying because I'm saying it. I want you to be able to do the math for yourself and really get it. People that you've known for a long time. Now, if they're growing and changing with you, they'll grow and change with you, and that can be very powerful. And that's ideal, but that doesn't always happen. And they may attack what you're doing, and if you get distracted defending yourself, you slow yourself down. So you want to pay attention to your social circles, obviously, and then the molders of meaning. Pay attention to your physiology. You may have to be conscious about it first. How am I holding myself? Right? Pay attention to your language. Pay attention to your focus. These things don't necessarily change overnight because they didn't happen overnight. But if you stay on top of it, you'll eventually begin to shift your focus and where what kind of energy you're holding. And you'll know, because people that have known you for a long time will step back and go, dude, you're different. You talk different, you think different. And that's generally a compliment. It may not always seem like one depending on what they mean by it, but it's a compliment because it means you're growing.